Hi everyone, Jennifer Blevins-Smith with Integral Clinic Solutions, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Navigating the Business of Medicine. Today, I'm going to go through a very high-level, step-by-step instructions for credentialing and contracting. Credentialing and contracting are two different pathways that move in the same direction simultaneously parallel when a provider and or group want to become participating with an insurance company. Credentialing is necessary for all individual providers to kind of get the stamp of approval from an insurance company saying, yes, they are approved. We have done extensive vetting and background checks and verifications on everything that they say they've done in their history as far as education and their work history and their certifications and their peer reviews, etc., to say, yes, we trust this individual provider to give care to our beneficiaries that hold our insurance. The contracting part is where the negotiations and the reimbursement comes in once the credentialing is finalized and providers are individually approved to work on behalf of an insurance company. They have to be associated with a contract agreeing to what the insurance says is appropriate behavior, how to handle certain situations, reimbursement amounts, etc. So they do have to move parallel, especially if it's a new company that doesn't have a contract yet, because all providers need to have some kind of contract affiliation with the insurance company after they are credentialed. So they do need to move simultaneously in the same direction if they're both starting out and new. If there's an established practice and an established contract, that's great. It's just working on making sure that the provider is still credentialed or needs to get credentialed with the insurance company, depending on what their situation is. And then once that's approved, connecting them to that contract so they can start seeing patients. So there are some steps in contracting credentialing that are very necessary for success. And these are my steps that I've put together that I follow myself. If you want a more thorough discussion about each step and examples, etc., please sign up for my course on Thinkific. I go through training individuals who are novice, essentially, to credentialing and contracting on how to do this and how to be successful, things to look for, things to consider, how to do stuff. I bring up certain things that you might not be aware of so you can do your own diligence. It's on the Thinkific platform. You can find the link to it in the description of the video. I'm also going to put up a QR code that you can scan. It will take you right to my Thinkific website. You can create a profile. You can preview my course overview for the two sections that have been released so far, the beginners and the intermediate. They build off one another. You can watch the first video. It gives an overview of the objectives of each section. So if you watch one and you go, oh, you know what, I don't think I need that, I'll just go to intermediate, then sign up for intermediate. It's whatever you want to do. It's self-paced. It's instructional on PowerPoint. It's recorded, so you do it as much as you want. There's not like a one-time through and you're cut off. You have access to it until you don't want to anymore. So check out my course. This goes through the step-by-steps more thoroughly in the beginner section. I'm just going to do this video for the 7 steps. The first step in credentialing a provider, this is for an individual. This is not for a group. This is for an individual. You need to gather all the information that you need for credentialing. And you should have a checklist of everything that's needed. You can look up generic state credentialing applications to get an idea what is needed for credentialing as kind of a general overview. You're going to have insurances that require maybe something extra or something different, but it gives you a good idea in general of what's going to be required and asked for from all insurance companies. So you need to gather all that information. It can take a week, it could take a month. It depends on how cooperative the provider is in providing it to you, because a lot of it they are going to have to give to you. You're not going to be able just to create it out of thin air. So step number 1, gathering all of the information. Step number 2, you need to ask the provider which insurances they want to become credentialed with, or which insurances they want to get a contract with. Maybe they're opening their own practice and they want to be credentialed. You need to find out which insurances in the area that they want to be affiliated and in network with. So they need to provide you with that list. They might need some help identifying some of the insurances that are offered in their area, but for the most part, they should have a pretty good idea, and you want to start putting that list together. At the same time, you want to be making sure that you're looking on the websites to see what information is needed in order to do so. Step number 3, with the information that's gathered from the provider, all their personal information that you need for credentialing, you want to go on to CAQH and you want to update their profile. This is because a lot of insurances use CAQH to verify and work from when checking everything, verifying, validating a provider's information. It's great. When CAQH was initially created, it was supposed to be for all insurances to use it, but not all do. Some still want the paper application sent in, some want the paper application scanned and emailed in, some just have a special form that you have to fill out. But in order to be ready, because so many insurances do use CAQH, take the information that the provider gave you and compare it to what's entered into CAQH, update anything that needs to be updated, go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and reattest in CAQH to make sure that the insurance companies know it has been looked at recently and you reattested for it, that it's accurate. That will help save a lot of time. So after you get the information, you figure out what insurance is. Step 3 is go on to the provider's profile on CAQH and update everything that needs to be updated and then reattest. The 4th step is going to be your discovery phase. Some of this might have been done in step number 2 when the list for insurances that they want to credential and contract with was put together, depending on how much you were involved in it. But the step number 4 is the discovery phase. It's where you're going to be researching the insurances from that step number 2. You're going to be looking on their websites on how to become a provider, how to get a contract. You're going to be finding out how to submit applications, how to find out where the provider is in the credentialing if they say that they are already credentialed with an insurance company. You're going to be calling the insurance company. You're going to say, hey, I have this provider that wants to work for a new group. I need to know their credentialing status. Can you update me on that? I did a video about some other information you should gather while you're on the phone with these entities, or communicating via email. So make sure you check out that video because I think it will come in very handy during this 4th step. But the research and discovery phase, how to submit applications, where are providers at in their credentialing status, how to get contract requests versus the credentialing requests. All of that will be done during the discovery and research. And hopefully you're taking detailed notes and you're putting everything together and tracking under each insurance. So you can say, for Aetna, we need to go online and fill out this form, and then we'll be notified in this many days with an email, and then this. And with Blue Cross, I need to email my application to this email address, and then I will get, hopefully you're doing a very detailed notes so that when you're ready to submit, you just go through the line and you just start doing whatever you found on how to submit. Step 5 is kind of a combination. You're going to be completing any applications, gathering any last minute information you might need that you found from step number 4, which is the research and discovery. You might have seen that some insurances need a business organizational chart when you submit for a contract request, or maybe they need a provider roster, or maybe they need some other piece of information for the individual provider to credential. And so during that discovery and research phase, you will be documenting that so that in step 5, the completion of the application, you can make sure before you submit, you go through every payer and make sure you have everything that's needed based on the information you collected. Then part of 5 is once those applications look complete and you have everything you need, you start submitting. So step 5 really is completing the application and submitting those applications. Documenting how you submitted it, what time, date, if you talked to somebody, all of that. Step 5, submitting those applications. You want to make sure you prioritize the applications for the insurances that are going to take the longest, or initiating with the insurances that say they're going to take the longest. Usually that's going to be like your TRICARES, your Medicaids. Government type plans are usually going to take longer, but some commercial plans can as well. And you also want to make sure that you are differentiating between the credentialing submission and the contract request submission as well. So there's going to probably be 2 different ways of submitting or requesting depending on if it's credentialing or contracting. Step number 6 is following up on all the submissions from step number 5. You should some way, somehow receive some kind of confirmation code, email, document that says, we received your application for so-and-so for credentialing, or we've received your request for contracting, and it will take this much time, or you should hear some back from someone in this much time. That allows you, one, to know that you were successful in submitting those applications, because if you don't receive a confirmation, you better get on the phone and start calling those insurances to see if they did receive it. If they didn't, you'll have to resubmit it. But the longer you wait to get that confirmation, the more delayed this can be. So you want to be on top of it a day or two. If you don't receive a confirmation after submission, you need to be calling, okay? Then you also need to be putting on your tracker and your calendar when you should be following up with certain insurances. So if they say by 30 days, you should have heard something from Aetna, you need to put that deadline on your calendar. And if you haven't heard anything from Aetna by that date, you need to be getting on the horn and following up and saying, hey, it's been 30 days, what's going on? Remember, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and that is very true in credentialing. And it is a babysitting process, unfortunately. So you need to be very detail oriented as well as very organized when it comes to being successful in credentialing and contracting. And then the last step, the 7th step, is receiving the confirmation that credentialing is completed for a provider. Woohoo, celebrate, right? Yay. Get the effective date with the insurance company for that provider, write it down. Also record when they would be due for re-credentialing. Usually it's 3 years after initial application. It's every 3 years, but some insurances are less or more, so you want to make sure you record that as well. And then you will be able to connect that provider to whatever group contract you need to. So it's a 2-step process. You received effective date with the insurance with that individual provider, yay, and you have their effective date. Now you say, okay, are they connected to the group, or do I need to do something to connect them to the existing group? And usually that conversation will kind of, depending on the insurance, happen in the process of submitting credentialing requests, but it might not. So that's where you need to do the final step, is saying, okay, how do I connect them to an existing group or a group that I've submitted for request, right? The 7th step for contracting is getting an executed contract recognized by the insurance company and getting that effective date, and making sure all the providers who will be practicing at that entity are connected to it and their credentialing is complete. So it's a 2-step process. We can go all day about this, but again, my credentialing course is very good at going over this and explaining it. I have other videos that kind of show the 2 tracks of credentialing versus contracting and how they fit together. So please check those out. This is just a high overview of the 7 steps to being successful for credentialing and contracting. The very important parts of being successful in credentialing is following these steps, but in each step being as detail-oriented as possible, taking very thorough and very obvious notes that if somebody came in behind you or had to do it behind you, they would know exactly where you left off, and being super organized. So I have some documents. I have a very basic Excel tracker, and I have a Word PDF document that I created that's like a checklist to create or gather providers' individual information for credentialing. If you're interested in that, I will have the link for that in the video description as well. So you can sign up and it will email you those 2 documents. Again, they're very basic. Feel free to change them however you want to and however it makes sense to you, but it just kind of jump starts you on and kind of what's needed. And I go over those documents with these steps in my credentialing course. So if you're interested, please definitely, here's the QR code and you can scan that. It will take you to the sign up on Thinkific, which is the platform it's hosted on, or the link for my course is in the video description of today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave that in the comments below. Smash the thumbs up button if today's video was helpful. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and please share this video with anybody whom you feel would benefit. Thank you so much for the support. I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.